Hello everyone, my name is Abby and I'm the Young Adult Assistant at the Twin Lakes Library System and I use she, her pronouns. So today I am going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart and it is K-pop. I'm even wearing my K-pop shirt today so I can be on the mood. So in case you haven't seen my background, it's covered in posters and a lot of those posters are from K-pop groups. So I'm going to talk about K-pop and what it is and just some stuff that goes into it. And then I'm also going to be recommending groups and songs that I think are really good for beginners in case you are interested in looking up or looking at the music videos for these groups and stuff in case this interests you. So yeah, I'm just going to get started. So what is K-pop? So K-pop is essentially Korean pop music. So it originated in South Korea. And it's essentially like, pop music you would hear here in America. It's just their version of it, essentially. You probably all have actually heard K-pop before, even if you think you haven't. And that would be, oh god, it came out a long time ago. But Gangnam Style by Psy is actually a Korean pop song. And, that blew up all over the world. And so there's kind of like, an acknowledgement of it, and then it sort of went away. But it's actually becoming a lot more popular in America recently, with groups like BTS and Blackpink, the group that I'm currently wearing a shirt for. They've sort of started breaking into the Western music market, which is super exciting because they are all very talented and they deserve to be famous everywhere. The only thing that I would say that is kind of more different about K-pop than regular pop is there's a lot more production that goes into K-pop. So a lot of K-pop groups, they all dance as well. And then, like music video quality is amazing in K-pop. That's part of what like drew me into it originally was the music videos. I think they're really beautiful, and a lot of them have a lot of really cool storylines and a lot of amazing set designs and, fashion and the choreography that goes into it. There's just a lot. So it's huge. It's amazing. It's really well done. So just some general facts for K-pop. So the way that people who are in the industry join the industry, there are a couple different ways that this happens. So there's scouting versus auditioning. So scouting is when a talent agency just happens to see you and thinks you would be talented and, gives you their business card and invites you to come audition for them and try out for them. And all of the groups are under certain entertainment companies and, that kind of affects, what kind of tone their groups are going to have, the emphasis on choreography, the emphasis on rapping. It really depends. The ability of the artist to, self-produce versus do they have a team of producers that typically write the song. So it just sort of depends on the company. The big ones right now are SM, JYP, and Big Hit, which is BTS's label. They didn't used to be big. They used to be very small, but they've become really big because BTS has gotten so famous. So companies. And then another way that this happens is you do auditioning. So auditioning is when certain companies hold auditions. I'm pretty sure that SM is planning on holding auditions in Los Angeles at some point soon, which is interesting. I'd be excited to see how that's going to happen. But they hold auditions and you can try out and you get to a certain point and then you are in a group. And then there are some, reality TV shows like American Idol and X Factor. They sort of have their own versions or like group dedicated versions like Produce 101 and Into the Island, I think is what it's called. And there was one show that one of the groups that I'm going to be talking about was formed on. So yeah, that's like a general overview of how you can even become a K-pop artist. You do a lot of training to be a K-pop artist. It takes a long time for some people. It takes not as much time for some people. I think one member I know was training for 8 years and then another member was training for 8 months. So it really just depends on who you are and how much background you have in A lot of these people kind of know they want to be musicians before they decide to audition, so they usually gravitate towards certain fields like dancing and choreography and singing and rapping. And yeah, so there's just a lot of work that goes into it. And so the next thing that I would talk to you about is the roles in the group. So there are actually kind of assigned roles in K-pop groups. And this obviously is dependent upon how many members you have. So some groups are massive and some are really small. So I know a group that is 2 people, and I know a group that's they alternate, but they're 23 members, and I think they're going to add more. And you probably think that's a little ridiculous, but they have sort of alternating units in them, which kind of breaks up the 23. But it's a lot. But each of those members sort of has a role in the group. So you have your leader who's like in charge of the group. That doesn't always mean they're like the oldest member. It just means that for whatever reason the company has deemed them the one who is going to take charge of the group and represent the group and, make sure that the group is being, promoted in the right way and all of those different things. And then you have your main rapper who could be, and some of these roles overlap. So like in BTS, the leader, RM or Namjoon, he is also the main rapper for the group. So some of these roles can overlap, but you have your main rapper who is, as the name says, is their main rapper. You have your lead rappers who are also rappers, but they maybe don't get as many parts as the other main rappers, or they, just for whatever reason, they're not. Some groups are very evenly distributed in how many parts they get, some are not. It just kind of depends. You have your main singer, you have your main dancers, you have your Hyung line if you're in a boy group, or your Uni line if you're in a girl group, and that's the older members. And then you have your maknae line if you are in the younger age of the group members, and then you have your actual maknae who is the youngest, and that's an important role in Korea, so they make sure to differentiate that. So that's kind of a little bit background about just like roles in the group. And then concepts. So concept is kind of how aesthetically a group presents itself. And this can change. It depends on each. So we call them comebacks, but comebacks are like when a new album or new music is being released for a different artist, or like an EP. And each comeback can have a different sort of concept with it. Like retro comeback, or retro has been a really big one this year. In terms of concept, you have like cute concept. A lot of girl groups do that. You have summery concepts, which is, if you decide to release an album in the summer, you tend to go for more summery, upbeat sort of presentation of the group. You have like mysterious, which is, a little bit more fancy and dressing and things like that. So concept changes, the group can change its concept. It's really actually cool to see how groups change their concept, because it's like, originally they might have started with like a really cutesy concept, and then they've moved on and they're like super mysterious, and the whole tone has changed. It's really fascinating to see. And then just some general like fan content about K-pop. So these are some sort of words that you become privy to, or concepts you become privy to if you become a fan of K-pop. So you have your bias, which is your favorite member in a group. So like for me, in Blackpink, let's do Blackpink because I keep talking about BTS. BTS is my favorite group in K-pop, but Blackpink, my bias is Lisa, she is, I believe, the lead rapper and the main dancer for the group. So she's my favorite member in the group. But then you can also have a bias wrecker who's like your second favorite member. And you obviously don't need to have these things. This is just something that's a part of K-pop. And a lot of people just love, like, I love the whole group Blackpink. I just gravitate more towards Lisa. I like her rapping and I like her dancing a lot. But then you can have a bias wrecker who's like your second favorite member. Or you can do like a bias line who are your favorite members in the group. So like, for me in Blackpink, my bias wrecker is probably Rosé, and she's a singer. She has a beautiful voice, by the way. So yeah, so you pick your favorite members, or you don't have to pick it all. A lot of people are like, oh, I love them all equally, which is totally fine. Like, I have groups that I feel that way about, and I love all of the members in every group that I am a fan of. Um, yeah, a lot of groups release a lot of secondary content that, helps you get to know them a little bit better. So like there's a group called 17 that I really like, and they release like a reality show every Monday night. Um, and me and my roommate watch that reality show, and you sort of get to know their personalities a little better, and that helps you sort of establish who is who in the group and help you get to know them. But yeah, so there's that kind of content. I know Blackpink just released a documentary on Netflix, I think. And then they have their own little reality show. I know BTS has a reality show. I know that a lot of artists go on variety shows that are, kind of like reality game shows here in America that you sort of get to know them a little better on. So there's a lot of content for you to get to know them better and kind of establish which groups you really like and get to know their personalities better. And then another term would be your alt group, so your favorite group. So like I said, BTS is my alt group. I listen to a lot of groups. Some people listen to one group. I don't know how, because all of K-pop has great music, so I don't know how you can just like one group, but some people do that. But BTS is my alt group. I have a lot of groups that I love. I love ATEEZ and Blackpink and Twice and SHINee and Astro and 17 and Red Velvet. There's a lot of groups, obviously. So that's what you would call me, like a multi-stan. So I like a lot of groups, and I know a lot of groups. And then the last term would be standing. So standing is it's like internet slang, but basically it's like groups that you really like you know their members, you like all of their music, it's not just like casually listening, it's like you actually like know all of the members in the group, and you like can identify them and identify their music, and it's so stuff like that. So yeah, so that's that. And then I also think that K-pop brings up a lot of good social commentary. So there's a lot of talk about body image in K-pop, and I'm actually, spoiler alert, my next book talk is going to be about K-pop books, and there is a book that I'm actually currently in the process of reading that talks about this, and being, body positive and trying to promote, a different sort of perception of body positivity and acceptance, because that is an element that struggles in K-pop. There is a problem with like making sure that there is, awareness of body positivity. It's getting better for sure, and a lot of idols, which are the K-pop singers and professionals in there, are making an effort to sort of push that forward and making sure it's becoming more accepting and more progressive as it goes on, which is nice to see, because I've been a fan since 2017, and the attitude towards certain things has changed a lot, which has been great. There's also conversation about mental health. A lot of K-pop groups are starting to become a lot more open about their members if they are struggling mentally, and making sure they're getting breaks. Like, I know a member of Twice right now is out on break because she's having some problems with anxiety, and the year before there was another member in that group who is struggling, and they gave her some time. So it's nice to see that the companies are sort of starting to help and prioritize the mental health of the artists and making sure that they're doing okay. I know that some artists, talk about it directly in their music. BTS is, I'm going to keep talking about them because I love them, but their rapper, Suga, or Yoongi, who released his his first mixtape a while ago, which is like a bunch of his solo music. He talked about having depression and, meeting with a therapist, which is sort of taboo in Korea. So, it was very important that he made that statement. And then a lot of their own music talks about their mental health, and they're very open about their mental health with their fans. So it's really nice to see that. And then I think one of the biggest things is K-pop has a lot gender non-conformity. So a lot of the music videos that you see, especially for the boy groups, are, they're wearing makeup and they're wearing more, feminine clothing, and that's not nobody really has a problem with that. It's kind of, it's I'm trying to think of an artist that I would compare it to, and maybe like David Bowie, like glam rock, aesthetic. Um, and I just like seeing that because it's nice for them to like subvert the traditional ideas of masculinity and femininity and see how they encompass it in their music videos and their fashion and everything. So that's really cool. So yeah, so that's all kind of the like basic background I wanted to give. I also wanted to give like groups and songs for K-pop beginners that I think would, help you sort of understand the genre but get more into the genre. So the first group I'm going to talk about is BTS, not only because they're my favorite group, but because I feel like they actually have a more established base in the US. So you probably have heard of some of these songs that I'm going to talk to you about, but I think they're easy to get into. So you have DNA, which is like kind of their first song that became really big in the US. Dope, which was the song that actually got me to be a fan. Incredible choreography, incredible music video. Spring Day, amazing music video. On, which is their most recent single. I recommend watching the Kinetic Manifesto film for On. The actual music video for On is really complicated, and you have to have probably been following them for a little bit to understand the storyline there, so I recommend the Kinetic Manifesto film. That's like choreography and a drum line. It's very cool. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which is their best music video in my personal opinion, and then Boy With Love, which features Halsey. So yeah, so that's all for BTS. The next group I'm going to talk about is Blackpink. They're probably the more famous girl group in America, for good reason. They have great music, and they have songs I would recommend are Lovesick Girls, Playing With Fire, and Forever Young. Forever Young is actually not a single, but it's on one of their mini albums, which is like an EP, but it's a really good song, and I think I love it. And then the next group I'm going to talk about is 17, and so fun fact, when you get K-pop albums, which I have a lot of, you get like little photo cards that come with it, and that's a member from 17. His name is Mingyu. He's one of my favorites, but I kind of wanted to show you that. But 17 has Clap, Thanks, Very Nice, and Left and Right. Those are all songs I think are great. 17 has the best choreography in K-pop. They're also like they're under a company, but the company gives them pretty much full creative control. So they write their own music, they produce their own music, they choreograph their own songs. So they're really cool. And they're sort of under the label of Big Hit, which is BTS a company, but they are under like a smaller company it's very complicated. So yeah, I definitely recommend. And then also, these are some members from Blackpink. That's Lisa, that's my bias. Sorry, I'm trying to show you some of these people so you can reference them. Okay, and then the next group is Twice, which they have, I'm trying to find a photo card for you, hold on. Yeah, so this is Neon from Twice, and they have Fancy, Feel Special, What Is Love, and TT. I think those are all really great songs. They kind of go for a more cutesy concept, but they also have some not as cutesy concepts, so that's always like fun to see. And then the next group I'm going to talk about is TXT, which is another group under BTS's company, and this is Yeonjun. Sorry, they had like a photo ID concept in that album. Anyways, but they have a song called Runaway and Blue Hour that I think are really great. And Blue Hour actually got my roommate into TXT because she wasn't a big TXT fan, and then she heard Blue Hour and she's like, I like them a lot now. So, and then we have Luna. I don't actually have a Luna album, but Heart Attack by Luna I think is a great song, and I love that song. And then we have Stray Kids, which, sorry, I'm really trying to show you some of these members just so you know who I'm talking about. Okay. This is Hyunjin. He's in Stray Kids. And I recommend Backdoor, District 9, and Get Cool by them. And then SHINee, which I have an album from SHINee, but unfortunately they don't come with photo cards. They're a little bit of an older group, but I love SHINee. And their debut song, actually, Replay, is the one that I would recommend because it's amazing. My roommates and I listen to it all the time. You can also just sort of see how they've changed a lot as they've, gotten bigger and what kind of music they're producing. And then the next group I want to show you is Red Velvet. I have a Red Velvet album, and I believe I have a photo card, but maybe I don't have it out with me. That's okay. If I don't. I have a lot of photo cards. A lot of albums come with a lot of them. I'm really trying. Okay, I can't find it, but that's okay. Red Velvet has Red Flavor and Russian Roulette are two really good Red Velvet songs. And then Monsta X is a group that I really like, and they have a song called Dramarama that I think is a great intro song. GOT7 has Never Ever and If You Do. And then the last group is EXO, and they have a song called Love Me Right that I think is great. I love the video and I love the song. So yeah, so that's kind of my little general introduction into K-pop, and I hope you are excited for my K-pop book talk that I'm going to do in the next coming weeks. So I will see you again then. Bye-bye.